And welcome back to the
Not So Perfect podcast. My name is Matt Chin.
Gerardo Cornejo. We are back. Thank you guys for continuing to hang out with us.
Yes, been enjoying a lot of it. And what do we got going on?
Well, I had a little vacation, so I miss you. I've had a little break from you.
In case you guys were wondering,
I hope
we
we
shot
can-
2 episodes in 1 week. First time we've ever done that.
Yeah. We practiced a lot and we're having a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Now as we go.
So we got the last one we did was the Father's Day pod.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed time with your fathers and are still enjoying time with your fathers. Did you guys go to the land and celebrate?
We did. We went to the land of California, Missouri, that is. California, Missouri. But yeah, it was great.
We went to the land of the Branson Missouri, and we had some quality family time. My mom got to enjoy the kids. My sister got to enjoy the kids. Me and Stacy got a break, but now we've been catching up since. So
Well, not only were you down in Branson hanging out with the kids and doing all that, but someone had a birthday.
My mom's birthday does fall on, falls on the Hispanic Father's Day, June 17th. So happy birthday, Mom. She is killing it at 71. So
And what's her nickname? Tita?
Tita. Yeah, happy birthday, Tita. Thank you for watching, Tita.
We got OG and Tita. OG and Tita.
OG carne asada and Tita.
That's right.
Quick announcement. Tomorrow, the 27th, Friday 27th, is Chris Wood's Cappy Classic. We made a video. We posted a video with Jill Wood. And this is my event that we get to have, our event that we get to have for Chris Wood and the family that's continuing to battle and try to live every day without their loved ones, without their rock, without their glue, without
their patriarch.
Yes, yeah. So tomorrow's celebration to gather all the families together and everybody gets to hug it out and be there and know that we're all in this together. So tomorrow, the second annual Cappy Classic, we are not golfing. We are doing it at the venue 324. I might jack that up.
324.
Venue 324. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. on East Capitol Avenue. And it starts at 6. We'll have dinner, Bobby Showers Band, and karaoke with Charity Hall to end the night. Let's just get together and be there for one another. So, any questions, hit me up, but we'll be there tomorrow.
Yes, and just on my part, I didn't get to partake last year, but everything that they've been doing to put this event together, I've kind of watched them in the process of planning and just getting everything squared away. So they put a lot of time, a lot of effort into it to make it as great of an event as possible. So if you're free tomorrow night, looking to get in tickets, and do you know what the tickets and everything, is it just going towards just the event? Or?
It goes towards scholarships for the kids that no longer have that part of the family. I mean, there's so many different ways we can say it, but it is to promote those kids to talk about it, write about it, and help you continue throughout that journey.
Yeah.
You know, to still continue to honor those that are no longer with us. But that's what that goes for, and it's all donations. There is a raffle. There's what's it called when they have those the gifts?
50-50 raffle, or the.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do, and I'm drawing a blank too.
Silent auction, I think.
There we go.
Auction items, yeah.
There we go.
You didn't have that at your place, so.
Nope. So it'll be a great event, great night, guys. So if you're free, looking to get some tickets, help contribute to a good cause, and and if you don't know what these people are going through, it'd be a great opportunity just to sit in and get to experience what they deal with on a daily basis.
It's amazing to realize how many people are fighting through this.
Yeah.
We're a part of them now. So it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of this too, there's no, just like being a dad or just like being a mom, there's no handbook for how to go about handling situations like these. So I know, just the different experiences I've been in, knowing that you're not the only one out there and there's a kind of a community of people that you can kind of lean on or pick their brains or just, become friends with, makes that journey that much easier, knowing that you're not alone. So
we'll see you tomorrow at the second annual Cappy Classic.
Cappy Classic.
And we go on from there.
Okay. Well, I had the epiphany. We were kind of kicking around ideas for the theme for this week, and I came up with one that I think is fitting for what's upcoming. So today's podcast is going to be on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So with that being said, how's your life? How's your liberty and your pursuit of happiness?
I'm still searching for the pursuit of happiness. We made it to the land, the dream land. and to have the American dream. And I've been learning a lot. The older I've came to this country when I was 7, done all my schooling, and living here a couple decades now, and just see every decade has been. I've thought it was a difference in happiness, of the search of happiness. And I do remember in high school with my buddies, we would ask our teachers, "What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life?" You know, we'd watch the movies and the heartbreaks and first loves and all that and heartbreaks. But one teacher, Coach Norman, I still communicate with him till this day. He said, "Just being happy." And I was like, "Whoa, no way it's that easy." Like, I'm pretty happy like all the time, hanging out with my friends. And decades later, I'm realizing it. It is just the people you're with. This brings happiness to both of us.
Same. Yes.
You know, this is a great freedom that we get to do throughout the week. That it's part of our week now. We cannot not do it.
Yeah.
I need Matt throughout the week, just even if it's just for this hour. But every decade has changed. Now I'm in my 40s with a family, raising kids, and there's no freedom there. You got eyeballs on you at all times.
Different kind of freedom.
Yeah. No, but we took them to Lake of the Ozarks yesterday. You know, that feels just like a vacation. Seeing them just get to play, be themselves, have their experience, make the memories. Yeah. They got to bring their buddies. So they're jumping off the boat in and out. No worries about E. coli in the water. We go to the pools, no worries about we know they're all telling us they're peeing in the water. So we won't tell you exactly what pools we were at.
Smart.
But it happens. I think that's a huge freedom that maybe we hope that they realize when they get older, that we provided those experiences for them.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with what you were saying. You know, I feel like I've had different chapters of my life where that, you know, happiness takes on different meanings. Mm-hmm. You know, being younger, you know, wanting to be popular and wanting to fit in and be cool and have friends. You know, that's always an important thing when you're a kid. You know, and then get to high school, and then, you know, still kind of the same thing, but, you know, you also want to be good at your sports that you're doing. You want to make sure your grades are good, because now it kind of depends where you're going to go to college or where you're going after high school is done. So, you know, after high school, then for me it was, you know, I'd say my 20s were probably my most confused or lost part of my life. You know, just getting to college and being on my own and not really knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, you know? I mean, obviously you want to go to college and graduate and do all that stuff, which I still haven't done, but, you know, my journey kind of took a different route than most people's, I guess, in terms of the college, and then after college, getting your diploma, and then getting your diploma and getting into the real world with a real job. You know, I was kind of that guy that was searching for longer than normal to find out what I wanted to do that made me happy. You know, it was trying to make as much money as possible. Well, in doing that, I was miserable, you know? So having to kind of reshift and kind of find different things that kind of gear towards more of what my passion is and how I can make money doing that. You know, it led me into the personal training business, you know, and here we are, let's see, since 22, about 18 years later, still doing the personal training thing, still doing the group training, but doing it under my own umbrella, and nothing's made me happier, you know, than just being excited to go to work every day, getting excited to get to work with people that are trying to get better, just like I was at one point in my life and like I'm still trying to do today.
Yeah, and COVID pandemic shut you down.
Yeah.
You weren't essential, man.
I was not an essential person, nor were AA meetings or NA meetings, or
I didn't even think about that. That's right. So that got stopped.
Just goes to show you, just because the people are in charge doesn't always mean they know what's essential and what's not, because that was a very tough time for a lot of fellow alcoholics that I know that really struggled because they didn't have that community that they can generally lean into, you know. And, you know, there was some people that were trying to do some different things. They were trying to do some AA Zoom meetings and stuff like that, but what we found through that whole process was there's no comparison to being in person, being able to touch that person sitting next to you, being able to touch that person sitting on your right. You know, so it may have helped a little bit, but there's nothing like being in an actual meeting with physical people that you can actually see and touch. So yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, like I said, it's been a hell of a journey. You know, to find happiness, or to be able to define what is happiness, because I feel like you ask 100 people, you'll probably get 100 different answers on what that means to them. you know, and there's not one right answer for it. It's happiness is what makes you happy, you know. So, you know, then I got out of my 20s and then got to my 30s, and my 30s were really kind of a split. You know, my first half of my 30s were pretty rough, pretty rocky. That's where I hit rock bottom, and I had more letdowns and setbacks than I'd like to admit. You know, and then on the second half of my 30s, I got sober and found out that life can be good. You know, I was at that point in my early 30s where I didn't really care if I was here or not, you know, and that's as honest as I can be. I wasn't suicidal, but I didn't care if I woke up or if
Was
I
that
didn't
making
wake
you happy at the time?
up. No.
You didn't even care at that
No,
time
I
what
was
happiness was.
I was stuck in a well of self-pity, victim mentality, and just lost, you know, having no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Because it seemed like the harder I tried, the worse things got, you know. And when you do that every day, or you try and do that every day, or wake up with that intention every day, and you just, by the end of the day, you failed. You know, it's over and over and over again. It sent me down a weird road that you know, I'm very happy to be out of, and I'm happy to be on the other side of that fence. So for me, yeah, my 30s, the first half there wasn't a lot of happiness or joy. I tried finding it and filling it with things that aren't going to make you happy. You know, material things, or you know, just trying to fill these empty voids in myself, but mainly just doing it with shit that wasn't good for me. You know, things that weren't beneficial to me, that I thought maybe were, maybe they were, or weren't, you know. But again, got to the second half of my 30s, and I got to see and feel that actual literal and figurative sunshine every day, you know. So for me, that's kind of the definition of happiness for me. You know, now I'm just, back in January I turned 40, so I'm technically in my 40s now as well. And you know, my outlook, if you would ask me at 30 compared to 40, a lot different answer. Mm-hmm. You know, so the one thing I want you guys to take from this is that even if you are at a rough point in your life, regardless of what age you are or where you're at in your journey or whatever, there's room to get better, you know, and it's possible. You know, I've got everything that's happened to me since I've decided to get better has only just made things exponentially better in my life in all aspects, you know, not just...
And you don't have to have it figured out either in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Seriously, ask people in their 60s, 70s, they still there's nothing to figure out. It's just life and just being present. It can be that simple. I always ask my guys the question, like, which one comes first, peace or freedom? Mm. You know, does the freedom come first, so then you can be at peace, or you have to be at peace first, then have freedom? It's just, I mean, they're both connected. They're both so connected.
Yeah, I don't know. I see that in terms of, like, because with me, I found different forms of peace and freedom throughout my journey, like from my mid-30s on. Just because there were different points in my sobriety where I'd get to a point, like, for example, I guess for best way would just be to use an example. So for that would be, you know, there were some hang-ups I still had my first 2-3 years of being sober. You know, things I couldn't let go of, or maybe things I hadn't truly forgiven myself for, or asked God to forgive, you know, some actions and things that I've done in the past. You know, let's say I was good with 99% of those, but I was still hanging on to that 1%. And it wasn't until I was running on West Main, right by your rental house there, on West Main, I was running one day, and this song came on, and it was just a song that hit me. It was called Drunk Me by Mitchell Tenpenny. And I never heard it before, and it just was on a shuffle, and it came up, and I don't know, whatever it was in that song, or just maybe it was just the point I was at in my journey, and then hearing that song. And basically, I heard that song the first time, and I just put it on repeat, so I listened to it probably about 60 more times throughout that run. But it was one of those things where it was more of like an epiphany, where I got done with that run, and for whatever reason, that one thing I was still hanging on to just kind of dissipated up into the atmosphere, and just, I don't know, it was like whenever I was getting into my truck, it was like I was 20 pounds lighter getting in than I was whenever I started that run. So, you know, there is peace in getting that freedom of not being a prisoner to that resentment that I was hanging on to, or that action I did that I, you know, say that I've forgiven myself, but truly have not, you know, and I'm the only one that knows that. You know, I can tell everybody and put the smile on and say, oh, everything's great, I've done, you know, all these things, but in the back of my head, I know if I'm lying to myself or lying to others. So yeah, with that, I think it can go both ways. It just depends on your situation. You know, I found, you know, going through that run and hearing that song, having that freedom to not be that prisoner of those things that were holding me back. And then through that, I found peace, you know? So, I mean, I feel like there's different scenarios that maybe finding peace, you are now free to do other things, you know? So I feel like you can use that both
freeing
ways.
yourself from this gets you peace here.
Yeah.
That's why I always go, they always intertwine, come back.
That's a tough one. I had to think about that when you were mentioning it.
Got him. We got him. And not only, not huge major announcement. June
18th.
What did you celebrate, Mr.
Celebrated
Matt Chint?
6 years of sobriety. So that was a big milestone. You know, it was, I don't know what it was this year, but it seems like maybe the first 5 years, in the back of my head, I still thought I was an imposter. You know, that imposter syndrome, like, am I really, are these things that I've done, are these really happening? Like, you just almost don't believe yourself, or you almost feel like you're a phony, just how things have gone. You know, I can't explain how my life has turned the way it has without just, again, having that relationship with my higher power. And, you know, from there, all good things started happening, you know? So again, just trying to do that next right thing.
Your first 6 days of sobriety, did you picture where you were going to be at 6 years from then?
No, and that's one of the things. I mean, 6 years of sobriety. I remember where there were days I couldn't make it 6 minutes, you know, without being a freaking lunatic.
Yeah.
Or just letting my brain get just running wild, you know. But yeah, so this was the first year where I feel like that 6th year where I really kind of took the time and acknowledged the fact that I had made it 6 years, you know, because at first I didn't think it was going to be possible, but just keep coming back and you keep doing the right things. You keep talking to your sponsor and going to meetings and reading your big book. And, you know, again, like I said, just the good things just kept happening. So that was all the reassurance I needed, because good things were happening by doing the right thing. Where before it seemed like every right thing I was trying to do would ultimately end up 10 feet back or 10 steps back, you know, 5 steps forward, 10 steps back. You know, so for me, it was just finally taking that time to realize, like, hey, you've made it 5 years. This is your 6th year. Like, this is real. This is happening, you know? So don't be afraid to give yourself a little bit of grace, a little bit of credit for the work that's gone into it. You know, so I don't do well with that kind of complimentation of myself. I just don't. So, you know, the way I looked at it this year it wasn't just a celebration of me making it 6 years, but my family, my friends, all my support. You know, so by shaping it that way, you know, like we talked about with Jill, it takes that community or that village to keep everybody together, to keep that glue together. And that's honestly, I can't say that I've done this alone. I have not, you know, and that's been one of the other blessings, because up until that point where I got sober, I was trying to do it all by myself. I didn't want to help. I was too prideful to ask for help, you know. I thought that showed weakness, and, you know, that wasn't what I was looking for. But, you know, in going through this process that I've been through, asking for help is one of the most courageous things you can do, because it's going against everything that your mind and your body is telling you that you should do, you know. So asking for help is one of the biggest steps you can take in progress. You know, identifying the problem, admitting it, and then moving towards making that better, you know. So whether it be alcohol or drugs or overworked or, you know, whatever it might be.
I think now that you've got to, the way you said you've made it to year 5, now year 6, does it feel like your sobriety's getting started? Like, because it's gone by, 5 years go by so fast.
You know,
but you're at a whole nother level seeing it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think for me, it's the 6 years. I don't know what I'm saying. What I think now, moving at this point, moving forward, I think years 1 through 5, I was really working a lot just on making myself better, being a better person, being a better friend, being a better, you know, son or brother or whatever it is, uncle. I spent a lot of time, and I kind of made that agreement with myself at the very beginning. You know, I'm not going to be trying to get into relationships with other people. I'm not going to do any of this other stuff until I get myself at a point where I feel like I can offer something to somebody else. You know what I mean? And so throughout that process, I was just so busy trying to do all the right things, you kind of lose track of how long it's been. And I think that's credit to, you know, how the 5 years kind of zip by, you know, or the 6 years have zipped by at this point. You know, from this point forward, I've stayed so busy. It's almost, I take that one day that it's my birthday, and you know, I appreciate it and I enjoy it and all that, but then it's back to work. You know, I try not to dwell on, you know, staying in the same place. I'm always trying to keep it moving forward, even if it's just an inch or a centimeter or whatever it is. I just always am trying to keep moving forward. And by keeping my brain busy like that, where I've always got, you know, I'm always thinking about the next thing or the next thing or the next thing, I really don't think about it. You know, I mean, I'd take the time from time to time, but I don't spend a lot of time, you know, focusing on patting myself on the back or doing that, because guess what? Yeah, 6 years, but you got guys at these meetings that have been sober for 30 years, so we're not done. Like,
It's I feel like you're just getting started into the full-on journey.
Yeah, well, even
you committed.
Even if it's like, you know, I'm 6 years in, and even if I meet someone that's 5 days in, you know, those are great because it reminds me of where I've been and everything I've done up until that point.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's a chance to take that little time and appreciate the work that you put in, but. Yeah, for me, I'm not content with 6. I'm hungry for 7, you know, and then I'm going to be hungry
congratulations on those 6, man.
Yes.
Like,
Well, thank you.
It's, are you more at peace now?
Very
Do you
much.
feel
I can
free?
actually, yeah, sit in peace.
But it hasn't been easy though. You know?
Never, no.
Not a single day.
Not one single day that I would say, boy, that was just the easiest day I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's always been some kind of roadblocks thrown in the way, but I don't, it's how I react and respond to those roadblocks that get in the way that is where I see the real change.
No, and I love our friendship, and I appreciate you and seeing how hard you work, because I have another friend of mine too that they're going on 16 years sobriety, but he is so high performer, and he's told us before, he's like, if I'm not high performing, like any little thing gets me back to my old POS self. You know, so I can only imagine how difficult that is for you guys, and of course I have my own stuff that I deal with too, but I can only imagine how fighting your brain, you know, the overthinking, the battling, Matt, go this side, no, go to this side, we belong on this side, but remember this side.
Yeah, it was just it's almost like a nonstop of like white angel, red devil, white angel, red devil, just all day, just arguing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And yeah, I mean, it's something that with me, I just have to stay busy. I got to keep my mind occupied. Just sitting, you know, I know a lot of people that like vacations and like going to the beach and sitting there around and doing whatever it is that they like to do. That's not where I thrive. I don't thrive with like downtime and time to myself and time to appreciate the roses and all that stuff. I'll take a second and do that, but I don't do well for like a week or something like that. So, you know, the biggest thing for me is by running and forcing myself to do super hard stuff, it reminds me that the rest of the day isn't as tough as it needs to be, you know, but it requires these everyday, you know, like waking up and taking medication you got to take for something. Mine is running, it's exercising, it's working out, hot yoga, anything that's going to challenge me mentally and physically, is what's been the cornerstone of me being successful and staying successful at this program, you know. So it's definitely something that everybody's got their own way of doing it. You know, we've all got kind of a similar issue that we might be trying to tackle, but the way we go about it is different. You know, and I love that because I get to learn.
And that's why you have to talk to people, because it's different. To kind of put in perspective with my career in real estate, here's these blueprints. Here's how you do it with first-time home buyers. Here's how you do it with veterans. No, every deal in my 18 years has been completely different. There's just so many things that are so different. So we can't just tailor it one way. This is one way to do it. Okay, you want to get sober, here's the only way to do it. You have to communicate and get it out, because you might not relate to this person or this person. Oh man, you finally clicked with somebody, like, you know exactly what I'm going through.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it sounds like the thing in that business too is you can't really work off of assumptions too much.
Not at all.
Like you said,
and that's where you get in trouble.
Yeah, because if you assume something, you might offend a potential buyer. You might, you know.
Yeah.
There's just room for...
Reputations have been ruined, or careers have been ruined based on assumptions.
Yeah.
And again, life, freedom, pursuit of happiness. Then too, one way that I understood freedom, that I used to think freedom was, riches give you freedom, right? Money gets you freedom. Growing up and the things we saw in Los Angeles, Southern California. But I really discovered freedom was something completely different when my freedom was physically taken away from me. So story time.
I'll say,
Story time.
tell more, I'm listening.
My life completely changed. I think I graduated when I was 18, so maybe I was 19. At 19 years old, I was detained for 35 days in Southern California in the process of deportation. I went to San Diego with some friends of mine on a Thursday night because there was nothing to do in San Diego. So we just went to Tijuana, which we crossed the border. Of course, these are all my American friends, U.S. citizen friends. They didn't know I had a green card in the process of U.S. citizenship. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. My sister was in San Diego. I didn't tell my parents where I was going. We crossed the border and we partied there for 3-4 hours, complete waste of time. We crossed the border and then, okay, all my friends are going. They're all students in the universities in San Diego and everybody's swiping their IDs and then they swipe my ID and then they're like, where were you born? And I was like, El Salvador. I could have lied and said Bellflower, California, boom. I could have lied, I don't know what would have happened. I said El Salvador and we're here, I'm here with my school friends. Can I just go back with them? And they're like, hold on. This is a long story, but I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible to get to the point. They put me in a tank. They're like, oh, hold on, go over there. So my friends are calling me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. They interview me again and they're like, hey, it says Gerardo Cornejo, where's your green card? I'm like, I don't have it. I only have my school or my ID and can I get back? Like, you know you're not supposed to leave the country, right? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't really left. Like, I just crossed this fence to come back to the United States. Please let me go home. You're not supposed to leave the country. Please scoot over there. I get put in a holding tank. All my parents don't know where I'm at. Nobody knows where I'm at for 4 days. So I'm detained at the border. This is 2003, Matt. So what's going on with immigration right now? It's not new. That's why I have learned to keep my mouth shut about it because of where I'm at now. I get detained. I finally get to make a 1-800-COLLECT call. That ages a couple of us. 1-800-COLLECT.
yeah.
To my parents don't accept collect calls, so I had my buddy's number memorized. Danny, tell my parents I'm alive. I think I'm in downtown San Diego. I'll let them know more later. Hang up because it charges you by the, minutes or seconds. Yeah. That would end up being like an $80 phone call.
Well, that's when you do the old, at the beep, say your name. And you say,
that's when you say it all.
Bob, second name, had a baby, eats a boy.
Had a baby, it's a boy. Yeah. Collect call, San Diego. I get to see my parents that weekend and I was detained. I mean, they put us in correctional facilities and then they move us. The more they realize you're not a criminal, you're just trying to get back or into the country legally. They downgrade you. And I'm finally in this giant cell, 2-story cell and like 60 bunk beds on that side, 60 bunk beds on that side. One side was just Brazilian immigrants.
Oh, man.
None of them speaking English or Spanish, just Portuguese, Brazilian, you know. And I thought it was just like Hispanics or just Mexicans and Salvadorians trying to sneak across the border. No, this was Europeans. This is everybody trying to sneak in through the San Diego border. So after those 35 days, fighting with attorneys, meeting with the judge, I'm like, Judge, I just want to go finish my finals. Like, can you please let me finish my finals? I'm in the process of getting my AA associate's degree so I can keep making my parents happy. So my English got me through. But ever since that freedom was removed from me and I got to live in correctional facilities for 35 days, the food, for example, my daughter and my wife laugh at me because I always decorate my food. It looks like it should be like Keith should be taking pictures. Shout out to Keith.
Shout out Keith.
Like
photography.
I make my phonies first all the time because the food till this day I'm scarred for life of what it looked like and the way they treated you. And I wasn't a criminal, but you all get treated the same through that system. So now I treasure every meal I get. Like from my avocado slices are perfect in the morning, to the way I put my salsa on my tacos at lunchtime, to the way my steak looks at dinner time, whatever it is. That for 35 days, my freedom was absolutely removed from me. Wow. As soon as I got out, thank you, Mom and Dad, for helping me and my sister and family and the support group that got me through that. I said, I got to get away from the border as far away as possible. Jefferson, Missouri. Jefferson City, Missouri. Here I am.
Wow.
That's the story how you guys got me.
Damn, dude.
But it was again, I'm not in control. I don't higher powers, God. I just needed to get away from there because my freedom was completely removed. Coming out to Missouri, driving out here, my wife showing me Russellville, the farms, the freedom out here, going to the lake, the beef, the A-10 Warhogs flying over it. It was just Missouri. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, home of the B-2 bomber. Shout out.
Yes,
Whiteman Air Force.
Even
Base.
if you can't make it to us, I'm happy with where we're at in the middle of the country.
Yeah. Yep. No.
But again, that's I thought riches get you freedom, but no, this is us being not U.S. citizens. It took me 26 years to get my U.S. citizenship. That's not exciting. You're going through 6 years of sobriety. You got 20 more years.
Yeah.
To get you, imagine in 20 more years, you'll be like, you'll get that certificate.
Get that certificate, yeah.
Yeah, to be a U.S. citizen and actually finally vote in 2018. Is it 2016 or 18?
16.
16 is when we finally got to vote in that and be part of that. I couldn't get in trouble throughout that process. I could get deported again. And if I would have got deported, I would have to wait 10 years to come back into this country.
Right.
So at 18, at 28, I would have came back into this country. So I love this country, respect this country. Yes, it truly is freedom. As much as I hear my friends traveling the world now and Americans are hated, U.S. citizens are hated because of what goes on in our country. Like, we have it so good. Is it tough living here? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what does your freedom and happiness look like to you? This is a good place to decide what your freedom and happiness means to you.
Well, and imagine too if you would have, you were held for 35 days or whatever until they let you back in. Imagine if you would have lied instead of being honest up front. Maybe that would have been, he's already lied to us once. We need to just send him on back.
The truth really does set you free.
But you never know. But because a lot of people in that situation, 18, 19, or however old you guys were, that's an easy opportunity just to slide a quick little, no, I'm from California.
Yeah,
California.
It might have worked out. But no, that was my first experience at 18, 19, figuring out what freedom really is. And once it really gets taken away from you, you have to make some life changes.
Yeah.
And then again, some people take their own freedom away from them, and it's tough.
Yeah. Well, I'm part of that. I'm part of that crowd. Due to my actions, I took away a lot of my freedoms that I had. You get enough DWIs, you lose your license for long periods of time. Then and then you don't have a license period.
You had 4. I get 1. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Might not be allowed back in.
Yeah. So like I said, that's just every situation is a little bit different. But for me, it was like I was living in my own prison. Not a legit. Well, I guess I'd spend a few days here and there with.
I just set the bar, man.
With DWI to DWI, I'd spend a little.
Have I done more time than you, Matt?
I think you have. Yeah.
Take that.
That's true. I would say I'll try and work on that, but I'm not going to.
Let's not. No, let's not.
But no, for me, it was like every day I was living in my own little prison, and just being a prisoner to myself. Similar but different to what Gerardo was talking about, being actually detained and that sort of thing. But I was just living in hell, like you said, that 35 days and the food and the way they treated you guys, like you definitely realize what you don't want to go back to, So, that's kind of more encouragement to stay the path and keep doing the next right thing, because especially with you were kind of, skating on thin ice, so to speak. And as was I. With each DWI I got, the more chance I had of being locked up, and there's a chance it could have happened to me on my 3rd DWI, chance could have happened to me on my 4th DWI, and I'm fortunate enough that wasn't the path that God chose for me. So, for me, freedom and liberty, that's, simple things in life. For me, like when you don't have a license for 5 years, and then you get a limited driving privilege, you understand whenever they talk to you about, what this limited driving privilege is, it's just that. It's a privilege. A driver's license is a privilege. If you abuse that privilege, they'll take it away from you. And they have every right to do that, because in my case, like I was a harm to myself and everybody else out on the road, and not intentionally, but just being stuck in this alcoholic, lifestyle I was living. It wasn't good for anybody. It definitely wasn't good for me, and it definitely wasn't good for anyone else out there that potentially I was driving.
It wasn't good for that rock that was there that saved that family.
So
from you hitting
the
it.
liberty and the freedom aspect for me, it comes from, whenever I did get my limited driving privilege, just being able to drive to the grocery store and get your own groceries, like being able to drive yourself to work and not have to get taxied around from place to place or having to constantly ask people for rides. There's a certain amount of freedom I got back with each, progression I made, and getting sober. I wasn't a prisoner to alcohol anymore, and then going through the process, getting into DWI court, then I had a chance at working towards getting a license, and then once I got that license, then I graduated from DWI court, and then I was off probation, so there's more freedom, so each step of my journey in getting sober, I've gained a little bit more back of my freedom because, starting out with just being in my own little prison, just reliving that day over and over like Groundhog Day, it seemed like, and then just making progress and then getting a little bit of that freedom back, and then graduating the DWI court program, and that means I'm not going to be a felon, and I'm also not, I'm not going to be serving any jail time, because I was looking at 5 years in prison for a fourth DWI, and just not going to prison, that's freedom, Do
you still have your vehicle?
Yeah, so, and that's one thing that, I still have people that ride with me, and when they do, they're like, man, doesn't that breathalyzer get old? And I said, what gets old is not driving. And they're like, oh yeah, it's just little things that people take for granted. Driving, like if you can't drive, you're gonna have a hard time making a living.
Yeah.
Just doing all the things you need a vehicle for, and I'd ruin that. So just the fact that I have my license back and I can drive, yes, I have to blow in my breathalyzer every, when I start the car, and then every 5 minutes after that. But I tell you what's not freedom is not driving or not being able to do those things, So for me, yeah, it might be inconvenient at times, but it's a whole lot better than the alternative,
sir.
Because that's why I was running everywhere. I was just running 5 miles to work, running 5 miles home from work. Same thing, just over and over and over again, because I didn't have any other choice, But, or I guess I did have a choice. I could have just not, but then I wouldn't have been working. I wouldn't have been, life wouldn't be where it is now if I hadn't. But yeah, so I use those tools to help get my freedom back, So for me, that's kind of what liberty and freedom mean to me, And I respect, whenever I got that license back, I was super, I had to retake my driver's test. A 40-year-old or a 35-year-old or 35 or 36-year-old guy in there with a bunch of 16-year-olds in the DMV trying to do the driver's test, where you got to do the written part, and then you got to go out into the truck, and you got a guy in there. It's like, am I older than you?
Which I think we should have. 40 years old, everybody should be doing this.
Am I older than this guy that's sitting next to me that's going to be judging me on my drive? Like, how embarrassing is that? But again, a lot of it's just pride. I had to swallow a bunch of pride throughout that process. But in swallowing that pride and just surrendering all that shit came a wave of freedom and just liberty that I'd almost lost, just based off of my actions I was making. So that's liberty and freedom to me.
Woo.
Yeah.
And we're still learning it. I mean,
it's not done.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that aspect.
It's a pursuit, and the overthinking gets in the way. And I don't know if I've said it before in the podcast. One of my coaches, again, the money and the money used to be a big stressor for me, because I was attached to that, the keeping up with the Joneses and seeing what they had and the people at the Lake of the Ozarks, and I want to get there, and then just interview those people, meet those people you think that that are living the American dream, and see how much freedom or peace they have, and it hurts, because they don't have that much peace in their life, but they have everything.
They have all the stuff, but they don't have peace and happiness.
Yeah.
And that's that pursuit of happiness. Like Joe Rogan always uses this. He's got a friend that's worth $3 billion, $3 billion with a B. He thinks he's poor because he's got a buddy that's worth like $50 billion. You know what I mean? So imagine being stuck in that prison where you're constantly
chasing that.
And you're a billionaire. What more could you possibly need another billion for?
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? That could make, what is that extra billion or that extra 20 billion? What's that going to do for your happiness? Is that actually a thing, or is that, but anyways, he talks about how it's just, just how some people are just stuck in these ways of just looking at happiness in terms of dollar signs and how many zeros and how many commas are involved. But, that's one thing that I found, and just, being where I'm at today is, money's important to pay bills and the essentials, but outside of that, happiness is what you make of it, Having good, healthy relationships with your family, your friends, your coworkers, people that work in your building. Like, happiness comes from however you want to look at happiness, So that's why I said, like, if we ask 100 people, we'll probably get 100 different answers. Yeah. Because, if you ask a 20-year-old, that idea of happiness, like we were at 20.
Well, I ask him every day, and I was like,
than where we're at now, So it's just kind of, happiness is in the eye of the beholder, but it's that pursuit of happiness, not just getting to happy and then stopping, but constantly pursuing how to find more happiness in your life, And for me, just another small example, like I started going back to church, and I've really found a good connection there, like feeling like a piece of inside of me that was empty, that I've been looking to try and fill. And, the way that happened was kind of divine intervention too. I had a buddy of mine that I hadn't talked to in quite a while, and he reached out and he's like, hey, let's grab lunch. So we grabbed lunch and we're talking, and he's asking what I do every day to what's my usual daily routine look like. And we're talking about that. And he said, well, I tell you what, he said, if I go to a hot yoga class with you, how about you come to church with me and my family, And this is a friend of mine I went to high school with, and his wife is same grade as us, so like they met at one of my fights and all that stuff, and now they've got 4 kids, so just seeing how their life is gone. So we agreed to it, and he went to a hot yoga class with me, and then I went to church with him and his family, and instantly just felt like this is what I've been missing. You know what I mean? Just that spiritual aspect of it, and just not just that, but just the community of those people around me, So, like I said, that pursuit of happiness is very important. Even if you think all your glasses are full, there's probably one that you're missing.
Yeah, and I think only you can really make yourself believe what it truly is, makes you the happiest. Because again, you get around a bad circle, the wrong people. I used to think what they were doing would make me happy because of their lifestyle. Nope. My mom was right. My dad was right.
Yep, and that's one thing. If you're listening and you're younger, as much as you hate to admit it, everything my parents have told me has pretty much come true as the older I've gotten. So whether you want to believe them or whether you're mad at them or don't think they know what they're talking about, they've got experience, and experience will trump what you think you know any day of the week.
I feel like I've grown up in my 40s.
Yeah.
I finally grew up. It took me 4 decades to grow up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's an old saying, I think it may have been like Alan Watts or someone like that said, life doesn't start until after 40.
Ooh, yeah.
Because by that point,
now you get to see it.
At that point, you kind of experienced a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can say that with, like, as soon as I saw that, it was like a YouTube thing I was scrolling through and found, and just wound up stumbling across, and was like, okay, like that makes a lot of sense, a lot of sense.
And the strategy, my strategy now it's as simple as the present.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you really, really, really have. You get to decide what you do today, how you feel today, what you're going to think today. If I didn't do something yesterday, I'll catch up on it today. But if I can completely knock out my things and kill it today, better than yesterday.
Yes,
that's how we set the bar. But today really is, choose your happiness today.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work 100%, maybe 50%, guess what? Tomorrow you can make it 60% by someone else you met, by hearing us out. Or thank you to our watchers and listeners, Matt. We are now meeting people. People are reaching out to us,
Absolutely.
and hearing our conversations that, dang, you're saying exactly what's been in my head. You're nailing it. Like everything, the thoughts in my head, and that's exactly what I'm going through. Boom! Now here we are, and I'm getting to meet up with a group of guys, that for lunch next week, 2 weeks from now. But now we're getting a community of other guys getting together just to be heard and let it out. So thank you, Matt. This is working.
Hey, absolutely. And then just one thing we'll end on here, just like that being present. So you got kids, they got all the sports that they do, being present. Does that mean physically being there, but being on your phone, answering phone calls and talking to 30 different realtors because you got to get this deal done by 5 o'clock tonight. And we got to get it done. Otherwise, we're not going to eat or we're not going to have that next nice car or that next nice.
It's taken me 18 years of building my real estate business to be present at my kids.
Yeah.
Be present for their, it's Jacob the other night. His favorite sport is whatever he's doing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He had he started as a catcher, the hottest day of the year. He's out there, humidity, in the sand, in the dirt, being a catcher with all that stuff. Poor kids just I wanted to run out there and give him some water. But then he had his pitching debut, and just seeing my boy I'm not even gonna record any of this. Like just watching him act like we've messed around, we've never pitched, but the coach was like, hey, you're pitching. Got to experience watching him pitch. I recorded a few ones. Got some strikes.
Yeah.
And then he steps up on the plate, and I'm trying to record it. And I was like, no, I just want to be here. So that's even a practice for us now as adults, and us who were introduced to cell phones. That's part of our bodies now. I hate to say that, but it is. It's part of it. Got to see him. He hits the home run. He's just running the bases, and I can't replay it, but it's stuck in here now.
Well, and that's I'm glad you said that, because that's one thing too. Like, everybody's always got to get their cameras out or their videos out and stuff. It's like, this is your video camera
live.
Right here. And guess
you
what?
Can't be live.
You don't run out of storage. You don't have to delete your trash can or
this trash can don't go away.
Yeah.
You can clean it up, but it won't go away.
Yeah, because there's stuff that, even if you go back and look at it on a video or on a picture or whatever, like, it's not the same as reliving it in your head.
And I was talking to someone else too about how we're working on getting less screen time. They're like, yeah, but when I'm driving, I get bored, so I just pick up my phone. I'm like, when you're driving, you get bored. So let's just pick up whatever you're watching, listening to, or I don't know. My wife and I, we joke all the time that we used to be scared of the robots taking over. Or the zombies taking over. We have become the zombies. We have become those people now. Not all of us, but we're working on it. We're working on getting better at it.
Yep.
It's a pursuit.
Yeah.
Never-ending pursuit.
Never-ending pursuit. But yeah. No, this has been great, guys. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for bringing up this topic. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Fireworks is the great representation of freedom.
Yes. Yep. And guess what we got next week? 4th of July.
Already.
So we felt that'd be a fitting topic for what we got coming up next week. So.
Yeah, and a little sneak peek into the future. I think we're gonna start having different guests, and we're gonna interview
some guests.
You're gonna see different faces. I mean, I know you can't get tired of this face. I'm sure you're tired of my face, but we're gonna have different faces, different conversations. We're listening to what people want to hear, and we got some sobriety ones coming up. Special guest Stacy's gonna be here. I want to talk about a marriage one because it's a huge discussion in our age right now with relationships and marriages, and the numbers aren't great for marriages right now.
Yeah, I mean, just talking locally, just in our community, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it just goes to show you that as much as you think people might have it all figured out, we've all got our own struggles behind the curtains, So
it's a pursuit of happiness again.
Not guaranteed.
Yeah, every day be present.
It's a privilege.
Thank you guys for watching the Not So Perfect podcast. Cappy Classic tomorrow. See you guys.
See ya.
Peace.